Hello and welcome, I'm Thomas Porteous and you're watching the newsroom. We start this hour in Europe, and Germany will host US and Ukrainian delegations for talks on a potential ceasefire in Ukraine, ahead of a summit in Berlin with European leaders and President Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine. A US official confirmed that President Donald Trump's envoy, Steve Witkoff, along with Jared Kushner, traveled to Germany to engage with Ukrainian and European representatives. Witkoff has previously led negotiations involving the US, Russia and Ukraine. According to reports, discussions aim to explore progress towards a possible ceasefire, signalling Washington's interest in advancing the talks. Britain, France and Germany have been refining US peace proposals which reportedly include territorial concessions, limits on Ukraine's armed forces and restrictions on NATO aspirations, as Kiev faces mounting international pressure to consider the plan. Moving over to the battlefield next, and at least 5 people have been injured after a Russian attack struck the Ukrainian city of Mykolaiv. The strike damaged residential buildings, sparked fires and caused power outages across parts of the city. Ukrainian authorities say that the emergency services were deployed as residents addressed the destruction following the overnight attack. The incident underscores the ongoing risk to the region's civilian population and the need for continued international efforts to monitor the situation and provide humanitarian support to those affected, as well as to restore critical infrastructure. We stay in Eastern Europe next, and Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko has freed 123 prisoners, including Nobel Prize laureate Ales Bialiatski, after 2 days of talks with US envoy John Cole. Meanwhile, the US Embassy in Lithuania has said that other prisoners are being sent from Belarus to Ukraine. The United States said that its diplomatic efforts to free the remaining political prisoners in Belarus are ongoing. While speaking on the ties between the two, the US Vilnius envoy has said that the US stands ready for additional engagement with Belarus that advances US interests. This comes as the United States is lifting sanctions on Belarusian potash as the two strengthening diplomatic ties. Belarusian state media has said that US envoys in Belarus said that as relations normalize, more sanctions will be lifted. We move next to Southeast Asia, and tensions have escalated along the Thailand-Cambodia border after Thailand rejected claims of a new ceasefire announced by US President Donald Trump. Caretaker Thai Prime Minister Onotin Sharnovikral has said that Thailand would operate military operations until threats to its land and people ended, adding that there was no agreement to end the fighting. His comments came hours after Thai fighter jets struck near the border areas. Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump says that he's spoken with both Onotin and the Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Manet, claiming they agreed to cease all shooting. However, neither leader have confirmed such a deal, and Bangkok insisted that clashes were indeed ongoing. Cambodia says that it supported a Malaysian brokered proposal to halt hostilities, with ASEAN planning to deploy border observers and the United States offering satellite monitoring. Fighting has continued across multiple border provinces, with civilians injured and hundreds of thousands displaced on both sides. Let's take a listen in to what locals have to say on the issue.
Bang mới khơi xẹp ai, tức bị chia chôn dương, mình tha bị chia chôn dương, nâng bị chia chôn thằng na miền Tây Kriam tay chấp, vì product pra này chẳng bọn, bài chất đi nè, còn phớp băng, miền cái đây na tha mà khai má này ai đã bóng ôn dương ở kia vỡ rốt tí là mong đam bảo vệ dương hồ si thom đa với bóng sờ bài chứ đấy bóng
nhóm miền ở Rom tha sờ bài chất rư mùi độc đua đai nâng bàn tay còn tha chân vậy tha nhóm chân ai bờ tây thằng pi nâng ai trời kia bên tây cùng ai chua bờ cây kia chân bị o tê vì bà đò buộc nhóm ấy tiệt nè buộc nhóm chia bờ chia chôn nè bà khăng na buộc nhóm phong Rossi sạch soi phong nam mùi Covid toàn tầm chọc ở lỡ tầm ở lỡ làng chân tiệt vì miền ban rồi.
Next, a huge development from West Asia, and the Israeli military has reportedly killed senior Hamas commander Raed Sayed, one of the architects of the October the 7th, 2023 attacks on Israel in a strike on a car in Gaza City. The attack has killed 4 people and wounded at least 25 others, according to the Gazan Health Ministry. However, there is no immediate confirmation from Hamas or medics that Sayed was among the dead. The Israeli military said it had targeted a senior Hamas commander in Gaza City without giving name or details. If Sayed was killed, it would be the highest profile assassination of a senior Hamas figure since the ceasefire deal came into effect on October the 10th. An Israeli defense official has said Sayed had been targeted in the attack, describing him as the head of Hamas's weapons manufacturing force. We move on to further updates from the enclave, and Hamas authorities have said that a recent winter storm has severely affected around 250,000 displaced people in Gaza. Heavy rains flooded more than 27,000 tents housing displaced families, worsening already fragile living conditions, the Hamas government has said. The report emphasized on the ongoing humanitarian challenges in Gaza, where thousands of families remain in temporary shelters amid limited resources. Emergency teams continue to assess the damage and provide assistance as displaced families face exposure to harsh winter conditions. Let's take a listen in to a few of the residents of Deir al-Bala.
انهيار 13 منزلا على الأقل في محافظات قطاع غزة، حيث أن هذه المنازل تعرضت للقصف من قبل الاحتلال الإسرائيلي. انجراف وغرق أكثر من 27 ألف خيمة من خيام النازحين، قطاع النازحين والخيام، حيث تضرر وغرق أكثر من 53 ألف خيمة بشكل جزئي أو كلي، وتلف الشوادر والأغطية البلاستيكية ومواد العزل، وفقدان الفرشات والبطانيات وأدوات النوم، وتلف أدوات الطهي والمواد الأساسية داخل الخيام. 3. قطاع المياه والصرف الصحي، حيث تعطل خطوط نقل المياه المؤقتة واختلاط المياه النظيفة بمياه الأمطار والطين، وانهيار حفر امتصاص مؤقتة في عشرات التجمعات المركزية المكتظة بمئات آلاف النازحين، وارتفاع مخاطر التلوث وانتشار الأمراض.
We move on now, and officials have said Iranian authorities have seized a foreign tanker carrying over 6 million litres of smuggled fuel in the Sea of Oman. Chief Justice Mojtaba Ghahramani of the Hormozgan province has confirmed that the vessel was intercepted and had 18 crew members from India, Sri Lanka and Bangladesh, all of whom have been detained. Ghahramani added that the ship lacked any documentation for its cargo or voyage and had disabled its navigation and position systems. Let's take a listen in.
نشان دهنده موقعیت کشتی رو خاموش کرده بوده و به فرمان مأمورین جهت توقف هم توجهی نکرده. پرونده تشکیل شده، دستور تخلیه محموله صادر شده و
Iran, who is known for having some of the world's lowest fuel prices, has been cracking down on fuel smuggling, both over land to neighbouring countries and by sea to Gulf Arab states. Authorities have not yet released details on potential legal proceedings against the tanker or its crew. We now move over to the United States for our next story. And in a latest development from the Jeffrey Epstein case, congressional Democrats from the House Oversight Panel have released a set of brand new images. These images have been reportedly confiscated from the estate of late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein as part of an ongoing investigation. Out of the 19 images released, 3 feature US President Donald Trump, once again raising questions about the close relations between him and Epstein. Moreover, the House Oversight Committee says that they are also reviewing more than 95,000 images to gather more details around the case. Let's listen in to what the president had to say on the issue recently.
But I mean, everybody knew this man. He was all over Palm Beach. He has photos with everybody. I mean, almost, there are hundreds and hundreds of people that have photos with him. So that's no big deal. I know nothing about.
People have gathered in Benin's commercial capital of Cotonou to project a recent attempted coup and call for peace and stability. The demonstration took place at Place de la Maison, where protesters waved national flags and held signs reading "Never Again," expressing opposition to any seizure of power by force. The rally is being led largely by young people, highlighting growing concern over political instability and risks it poses to development. Benin has a long history of military takeovers, and demonstrators say the country must avoid repeating the past. Let's listen in to some protesters.
Ce qui m'a moi particulièrement dérangé, c'est qu'on a déjà vécu ça plusieurs fois dans notre pays. Et ensemble, on a dit non. On a vécu près de 8 ou 9 coups d'État dans notre pays. Et ensemble, on a dit non, on ne veut plus de ça, parce que nos parents ont tiré des leçons. Parce que nos parents ont vu que ça nous a conduit peut-être vers la destruction totale.
C'est une manifestation qu'on a eue aujourd'hui pour dire non à la violence, pour dire non à la prise du pouvoir par la force. Nous sommes attachés au Bénin à une certaine forme de démocratie qui fait que la démocratie veut dire que nous devons prendre le pouvoir par les élections.
Les jeunes que vous avez aujourd'hui, ce sont des jeunes qui n'ont pas connu une période où il y avait des coups d'État à répétition. Ils en ont entendu parler. Ils ont vu aussi les conséquences de cette gouvernance qui, malheureusement, sans stabilité, ne permet pas d'avoir un développement. Et je pense que c'est contre ça qu'aujourd'hui, ils sont en train de revendiquer avec ce slogan « Plus jamais ça ».
The Iraqi Prime Minister Shial al-Sudani has met with UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres in the capital city of Baghdad earlier today in a ceremony that marked the end of UN assistance mission to Iraq. The UMAMI mission was established by a UN Security Council resolution shortly after the US-led invasion in 2003, and it focused on helping Iraq rebuild its democratic institutions. Now, the UNAMI mandate is expected to conclude by the end of this month on the request of the Iraqi government. Let's listen in to what the Iraqi Prime Minister had to say during the joint press conference with the UN chief.
انتهاء مهمة بعثة اليونامي لا تعني نهاية الشراكة بين العراق والأمم المتحدة، وإنما تمثل بداية فصل جديد من التعاون، وخصوصا في مجالات التنمية والنمو الاقتصادي الشامل وتقديم المشورة. علاقتنا مع الأمم المتحدة من خلال بعثة يونامي كانت محورية وفعالة لتلبية احتياجات العراق ومساعدته حتى بلغ مرحلة الاعتماد على نفسه بشكل كامل.
The United States ambassador to the United Nations has accused Rwanda of fueling instability and a war as a Rwanda-backed advance of the M23 rebel group in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo threatens to derail US President Donald Trump's efforts to broker peace in the region. The rebels' gains bring the conflict to the doorstep of neighboring Burundi. Burundi has had troops in eastern Congo for years. This aggravates fears of further regional spillover of fighting that has already killed thousands of people and displaced hundreds of thousands more since January. Let's take a listen in to what the ambassador said.
So rather than a march towards peace, as we saw under President Trump's leadership, in recent weeks, Rwanda is leading the region towards increased instability and war. And in light of the commitments made in the Washington Accords, we are deeply concerned that the Rwandan military's continued presence in Congolese territory in support of M23, and we will use the tools at our disposal to hold to account spoilers.
Now, in a related development, the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, says that Rwanda has clearly violated a peace agreement signed with President Trump and has vowed unspecified action in response after Rwandan-backed forces advanced in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. At the United Nations, the US accused Rwanda of fueling instability and war as a Rwanda-backed advance of the M23 rebel group in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo threatens to derail US efforts to broker peace in the region. The leaders of the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda signed a peace deal in Washington on November the 4th, even as fighting continued in the region. Next, we turn to Europe, and Spain police have reportedly intercepted a criminal gang which used helicopters to illegally transport cannabis-formed drugs into the country from Morocco. According to official sources, these helicopters could potentially transport between 500 to 900 kilograms of drugs. They also used the Mediterranean route to enter into southern Spain, where its illicit merchandise was then shipped by road to other parts of Europe. In this operation, 6 arrests have been made so far, and it involved the law enforcement officers from Morocco, Belgium, and Sweden. Moreover, the Spanish police officials also recently conducted raids in the provinces of Malaga, Almería, and Marica, confiscating around 657 kilograms of drugs, a few firearms, and bags of cash. Let's listen in to what the spokesperson of the Spanish Civil Guard said on the issue.
Este grupo criminal contaba con helicópteros con capacidad para transportar entre 500 y 900 kilos de mercancía. Transportaban el hachís hasta la provincia de Almería. Una vez que el helicóptero aterrizaba, lo transportaban por carretera hasta naves industriales donde era almacenado durante días para luego ser posteriormente distribuido por carretera hasta otros países de Europa. Por estos hechos han sido detenidas 6 personas. Asimismo, se han realizado entradas y registros en las provincias de Málaga, Almería y Murcia, donde se han incautado diversos efectos, incluyendo vehículos, uno de los helicópteros, así como armas largas.
We next turn to South Asia, and angry fans attending Lionel Messi's tour of India ripped up seats and threw items towards the pitch after his appearance at Kolkata's Salt Lake Stadium. Thousands of adoring supporters have paid up to $133 to catch a glimpse of the football star, but were left disappointed when he emerged to walk around the pitch and was obscured by a large group of officials and celebrities. West Bengal's Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee said she was deeply disturbed and shocked by the events. Messi is in India for his GOAT Tour, a series of promotional events in Kolkata, Hyderabad, Mumbai and in New Delhi. The 2022 World Cup winner had been expected to play a short exhibition game at the stadium. Here's how some fans expressed their disappointment.
We couldn't even see him, we couldn't even get a glimpse of him. So, why, was this scripted? I don't know. Why weren't the police taking action? I don't know anything. Everyone was furious. Everyone was very furious.
It was a total scam. We want our money back, to be honest. And Mr. Shatadru Datta, who's the main person behind this event, he did a good job. But unfortunately, the management was so bad. It is a black day for Kolkata.
एकदम घटिया इवेंट 10 मिनट के लिए आया, सारे नेता मंत्री कॉर्पोरेट ऑफिसर सब उनको घेर लिए, कुछ नहीं देख पाए, ना एक किक आउट करवाया, ना एक पेनल्टी लिया, कुछ नहीं किया। शाहरुख खान को भी लाना का बोला था, कुछ नहीं लाया, 10 मिनट के लिए आया, चला गया, पूरा फ्रॉड करके चला गया। इतना लोगों का पैसा, इमोशन, टाइम सब बर्बाद, कुछ नहीं देख पाए, कुछ नहीं देख पाए।
नहीं किया जा रहा है मेसी को, क्योंकि इतना भीड़ है उसके आसपास में। हम लोग सोचे थे कि एक बार बॉल टच करेगा या फिर कुछ फ्री किक भी होगा या फिर पेनल्टी भी शूट आउट होगा दोनों तरफ, कुछ नहीं, बस आया, देखा और चला गया। हम लोग स्पॉट ही नहीं कर पाए सही से, 10 मिनट भी नहीं था सही से। बाहर सब लोग देख रहे हैं, मतलब हम अंदर से हम लोग कुछ नहीं देख पा रहे। ये एक फ्रॉड के अलावा और कुछ नहीं कह सकते हम लोग।
Around him, and we couldn't even get a glimpse of him for once. It was just those ministers, whoever were there. He just waved a couple of times and that's it.
For our next story, we move over to the UK, and King Charles has said that his treatment for cancer can be reduced in the next year as he talked about his experience living with the disease. Charles was diagnosed with an unspecified form of cancer last February and made the latest announcement in a televised broadcast as part of a national cancer awareness campaign in Britain. Let's take a listen in to the UK monarch.
Indeed, today I am able to share with you the good news that thanks to early diagnosis, effective intervention and adherence to doctors' orders, my own schedule of cancer treatment can be reduced in the new year.
Thousands of Albanians from North Macedonia and Kosovo have gathered in Skopje to protest the trial of former Kosovo President Hashim Thaçi and 3 former high-ranking commanders of Kosovo's Liberation Army. The 4 men are on trial at a special court in The Hague, facing charges of war crimes allegedly committed during the 1999 insurgency that ultimately paved the way for Kosovo's independence from Serbia. Holding photos of Thaçi and waving Albanian and KLA flags, the demonstrators are demanding justice and the immediate release of defendants. In 2020, Thaçi was indicted by the Kosovo Specialist Chambers on 10 counts, including war crimes and crimes against humanity. The charges include persecution, murder, torture, and forced disappearances, even after the cessation of hostilities. The trial is expected to conclude in early 2026, although a fixed date is yet to be announced. Meanwhile, listen in to what the protesters had to say. We move over to the Indo-Pacific next, and according to rescuers, devastating floods and landslides have killed more than 1,000 people in Indonesia as authorities continue relief and recovery efforts. The disaster had struck the northwestern island of Sumatra over the past 2 weeks, overwhelming communities with heavy rain, flooding and slope collapses. Indonesia's National Disaster Mitigation Agency has said that at least 1,003 people have been confirmed dead and over 200 are still missing, as search and rescue operations are ongoing. Though officials warn that difficult terrain and damaged infrastructure are hampering efforts to reach some affected areas. And with that, it is a wrap on the new newsroom. Keep watching NewsX World for more international updates.
Thank you.